So that's just one small part of the ongoing JITA project, which is still in its infancy. So this project is also interesting in that we're not only using a modular approach in building it, but we're also actually building it over time. And we're not just building it on release dates, it's building in between as well. So we can set timers on the assets to build themselves. And this includes construction of scaffolding and holographic meshes, and many several stages for each structure. But on the subject of busy structures and environments like JITA, we're also looking into adding other elements to reflect the amount of activity that is taking place, like modular traffic. So here's a concept of a modular set used to build civilian transport vessels. The idea is you would be seeing civilian activity as more than just the sprites that are currently flying around stations. We would very much like to see this inside the stations as well as inside the hangars. So here are some concepts of some more industrial civilian vessels that we would imagine flying around in the hangars with some perceived functionality. And this content is actually already in good progress. Here's a few examples of some actual in-game models. These are currently going through the last texturing phases. And they're pretty much ready to serve their different roles in the universe, except for we need them to behave themselves as well. So it's no good just having a bunch of drones and civilian vessels just buzzing about if all they're just going to do is aimlessly roam around and bump into each other. Then we could just go ahead and call them EVE players. So our amazing graphics programmers are hard at work on a drone behavior system. First off, we want to be able to render many of these on screen. That's kind of the point. And we want it cheap. So as part of the new drone system, our graphics programmers put together a highly optimized way of drawing these on screen. So in this example here, this cluster altogether only makes up about 8 draw calls. And so the next step is to get these little space turtles here to do what we want them to do and go where we want them to go. So here we're opening a spline highway from point A to point B in space. And there's an entrance volume that we'll be scaling up. As soon as the drones get within the volume that is the entrance, they will seek towards the entrance and they will start going on the path from A to B. So that's one tool that we can use to control them, tell them where to go. Another part of the system is using locators. So in this example, a couple of drones are going between 2 locators. Your ship has a bunch of locators that we can use for logic like this, such as turret boosters, damage points, and we can of course place more in the environment as we need them. Now speaking of ships and hangars, you might remember we completely redid the lighting in the hangars this year, but we're absolutely not done with the hangars yet. Aside from looking into adding drones and civilian traffic, we're also looking at ways to create a more contextual information and functionality to the hangar environment. So here we're playing around with adding some contextual screens, some information. It could be incoming mail, agent correspondence, stuff like that. This is just us poking around at some future visions for the hangar environment. But this is not something we'll see right around the corner. This is not completely fleshed out. One thing that is coming right up is an update of the hangar audio and soundscape. So I have a clip here with some of the new hangar ambience audio. It's still work in progress. This is the Minmatar versions. All the different empires have their unique hangar audios. There is some announcers in there. That's a placeholder, and some of the old iconic voices and sound has been remastered and kept in there also. Let's have a listen to that. So a blog actually went out about this just a few days ago with a lot more details on this. So be sure to go and check that out and head over to the forums where you can submit your own suggestions to what those hangar announcers should be saying. So from the hangars to something that invaded pretty much everything but the hangars, the Triglavians. With the first Triglavian invasion wave, we added a bunch of stuff. As you might have noticed, we introduced the abyssal environments into K-Space for the first time. We created new system-wide environments, station and gate environments. We created new Triglavian ships, structures, and these. But instead of me walking you through all that content, we put together a small video highlighting some of the graphics that came with the initial Triglavian invasion. So enjoy. So that was cool. It was really cool for us to get these environments into K-Space to begin with. So now apparently with the Triglavians having done some initial investigations, they seem to have begun the construction of bigger, seemingly more permanent structures in K-Space, as you might have noticed. And just like the Empires succeeded in reverse engineering the Triglavian tech, Concord seems to have gotten their hands on some Triglavian structure blueprints also. And now with a better understanding of the Triglavians and their technology, Concord seems to have further inserted themselves in the conflict. It seems they have managed to finish a prototype of their own stellar observatory. Let's have a closer look at that one. So, with that, what will the Triglavians be bringing to the battlefield next? We've already seen them trying to construct their observatories all over New Eden. What will they bring to further protect their investment investment in the regions of New Eden? Let's have a look. So that should be interesting. Also, some other future exploration stuff. No promises and all that stuff. I have some really cool things to show you from our character team as well. So our character team has been looking into expanding the toolbox of the character system with the long-term goal of making character more present in the game. From your first interaction with an NPC agent to your character sheet, this is something we'd feel would do incredible things for player immersion. So basically just using your character much more, both in the UI and in actual gameplay. How about an actual live agent or a live full body rendering of your avatar on the character sheet? Or how about Alton Havery? People, I just saw him for the first time the other day. He looked nothing like I was expecting, but it's cool to see these characters show up. See, we do already have much of the character assets we need to actually implement something like this. But how do you realistically implement something like this across the board? So you could imagine what do you have to do to, say, manually author every agent interaction and every environment scene manually. So our character team set about to develop a scene authoring tool that would dynamically author these scenes with a number of set parameters. So like you see here, using those parameters, you can load up any number of characters, cameras, scenes, backdrops, light setups, etc. This tool also make this super light on the developer side, as all we're doing here is utilizing already existing character content. And that existing content is just so awesome, so let's just have a short look at a bit of it. Awesome stuff. Oh. And so we need to utilize this stuff better. With scenes like this, we can represent any given scenario defined by parameters in the scene authoring tool. So live agent interaction in an environment that fits the given narrative and situation. So this is just a mock-up we did. This is not something that actually works, but like this is the idea and this is the goal. And some of these tools makes this much more realistic to author from the content side. And another major thing in connection with this, our character artist has been looking into lately, is none other than the one and only Aura. Yes, we all know her from our very first steps in EVE. She's a symbol in EVE. She is a symbol of EVE. She's iconic, and sadly, she is also just an icon. So we wanted to change that. So we want to completely represent Aura with all of the dedication and respect she deserves. So inspired by all her representations throughout time, we went ahead and finally concepted and created her own full 3D avatar. So here she is in the high poly character model. Some amazing work has gone into this one, again from our character team. As always, the details are amazing. So let's have a close look at the low poly in-game model with some lighting. And also notice the glow map designed into Aura. This is super cool, but not only cool for looks, it can also be used to convey different moods, emotions, and states when interacting with Aura, like here. So with this beautiful new Aura and live animated NPCs and agents, and something that the character team also was looking into was voices. So those mission text boxes, for instance, with live animation agents, we'd also been playing around with some experimental text-to-speech animation software. This might work in combination with the Paperdoll scene editor to create some truly immersive environment interactions. So let's try that out.
I have transmitted your docking request. Our docking request was accepted.
So that's just basically text-to-speech animation. For specific hero scenes, we might want to even take it a step further and do full facial tracking. This is also something we've been looking into. So CCP Loki here volunteered to try out this stuff. So let's check it out.
I'm gonna quote some Mitani State of the Unions. It's like, once we were the hunted, now we are the hunters. Yeah, do you have enough, or do you want more like emotion? I'm gonna quote some Mitani.
So all that together turns into something like this.
I have transmitted your docking request. Our docking request was accepted.
So that's a lot of really cool stuff. And now over to CCP Mirke again for some super cool upcoming effects updates.
So, it's time to talk about the space subway system, also known as the new jump tunnels. Everything hereafter is in various states of progress, some things more final than others. So let's dive right in and take a look at a quick before and after of being inside the tunnel. And yeah. So this is about what you'll be seeing at Max Tie-Dye. As you can see, we have more animation in the cloud layer and second layer on top of that that gives a good sort of parallax. Now, why are we doing it? Why are we updating our tunnel systems and the visuals? Well, it all started with the Into the Abyss expansion, wherein we found that when authoring new tunnels for EVE, well, we found that it was super hard because of how they were set up before. And so we set on a path to make it easier. But that's not the only reason. We have several goals with this project. First of all, we want to remove old and difficult to maintain travel code. We want also to have a unified system for all traveling in EVE. And we want to enable our artists to fully author these travel effects so that we can make new tunnels with whatever look we want whenever we need to. So this will be a lot easier than it was for the Abyss. And not to forget, making them look beautiful. But on the experience side of things, we want to get your ship into the tunnel so it feels more like a continuous and visceral part of the EVE experience. You're not just disembodiedly flying through a tunnel. Your representation in the game world, your ship, is there. But how do you even get a Titan through most jump gates? So we talked with our jump gate engineers about how we could create some new jump gate technology. And they came up with this thing, basically creating a 0 point field matrix to shrink the Titan down and then grow it back to normal size once back inside the jump tunnel's space-time stream. Here's what that looked like. Yeah, doesn't really look good. We didn't end up doing that. We just ended up going around the problem. So it's more like that. And this works pretty well for most ships, as you don't even see them until you're inside the tunnel. But Titans are big. Now, obviously, it takes a minute to squeeze a Titan or any other ship through a jump tunnel and make the animations look somewhat realistic. So timings. We know you want to get on grid as fast as possible, and we also know of times when loading stops you guys from entering the fray. For those reasons, we developed multiple paths that the animation can take. Let's take a look at some different jumps for comparison. Here's our current jump animation. bit choppy on the dismount there. Let's see what it looks like when a new jump takes longer than expected. Now, if we haven't finished loading, we'll just wait right here until we do. And there we go. Now let's take a look at the new jump as it will usually appear. Pretty fast. Now, how are we delivering this? We're splitting the travel system up into basically manageable pieces of work. First up, we're hoping to get out in phase 1 the K-space tunnels, the Abyss tunnels, the Sino and Black Ops Sino tunnels, which are new. And then we are hoping to get into phase 2 the intra-system warp tunnel and the wormhole transition. These are in phase 2, mostly because they're so different on the back end in terms of how they're rendered and their visuals, as well as the intra-system warp tunnel having to handle a couple of things that the jump tunnel doesn't, like going through planets and hopefully stars. As well as for the future, the intra-system warp tunnel will have to handle going into and transitioning into more densely packed environments, and yeah. So phase 1, we're hoping to get out to you in the next releases. Altogether, it looks something like this. We want to have the visuals derived from the universe and enrich the gameplay and make it more of a unique experience for each. So to be, for example, traveling via Sino or Black Ops Sino, as the badass that you are, then that should feel cool and different. We also want to deepen the experience of the EVE universe as a whole by not only having the region nebulas as you travel around EVE be different, but having the tunnels correspond to where you are in them. So we dug up this map of where the nebula clusters of EVE are and set up these tunnels to run off of that data. Sorry. This means that when you transition between these different regions in EVE, you'll be seeing the tunnels change during jumping. First up, here's what Min-Matar space looks like. And Galente. And Kaldari. And Damar. Yeah, don't think you'd be able to make that jump. But the tunnel can do it. And here they are all together. Here's what the spider web of region transitions looked like in our state machine. This is all driven by work that our graphics programmers and engineers have been putting into our state controller editor over the last couple of years, which is enabling us artists to make cooler and more dynamic things every year. The Sino tunnels will also have their regional look differences. It's a bit more subtle, but it's still there. Now let's take a look at traveling through the Black Ops Sino. And the Black Ops as well will be slightly different based on regions. Slightly. You'll be able to see it better on your monitor, I promise. Another thing we wanted to do was have some difference for security status. And one thing when you're making computer graphics like this is that you never want to have too many layers of granularity, otherwise nobody ends up seeing the difference. So we opted to make the contrast be noticeable, and specifically as far as nullsec versus the rest of space. So here we see someone jumping into null, and everything gets a bit darker and less saturated. This then goes a bit towards darker in general also, because the region nebulas, the nebulas in the region nebulas are in the center of the universe where the NPC empires live. So you see them from further away, and then this matches that. Now, the abyssal tunnel, that has two separate looks to it. Here's what it looks like coming from and going to K-space. And this is what it looks like traveling within the abyss. And here's what that looks like transitioning from one to the other. So as you can see, there's still some stuff to set up and polish, like the audio for the lightning. The jump tunnels are something you're going to be seeing a lot as you journey across New Eden. So we want it to be slightly different each time. Now, nothing crazy, but just hopefully building enough into them so that they stand the test of time, at least for a while. The lightning in the tunnels should be somewhat random each time. Here's a visualization of the place where the lightning is coming from, moving around. The cool thing about this is that it's when the lightning strikes, it's lighting the ship and the light from underneath the clouds from the same point, so that matches together. And I can't begin to tell you how many math classes I've personally failed, but our graphics programmers gave us the ability to author these animation curve expressions you see in the top right here, and they're just fantastic and so easy to learn. And they're going a long way to enabling us artists to do more cool things. Now, ship placement in the tunnel was not easy. We have many sizes of ships and many shapes of ships. What works well for one ship definitely does not for another. So our programmers came up with the following. Basically positioning the ship based on its outer bounds along the view frustum of the camera in a good spot based on its size. It kind of looks something like this, but it's all math to me. But a big shout out to CCP Nobody, who did the actual math on this, and not to mention most of the programming work on this feature. Actual math. Then we also have it random which side of the tunnel the ship flies on. It's just 50% chance which one it picks. And there's also a slight random to the height placement of the ship along the view frustum. The tunnels, they look a bit like you're flying through some sort of, intergalactic storm. So the ship should feel a bit like it too. Early on, we added some shakes to the ships going through the tunnel, and here's the first implementation. Whee! Yeah, it didn't go quite to plan, but we got that fixed in the end, as you've seen, in some of the previous videos. So we're shaking the ship based on its size, so larger ships should feel less turbulence. But yeah, making this jump system and tunnels was not a walk in the park. Here are some examples. To start with, just hitting the center of the gate is not easy. And then your boosters don't turn on. Sometimes you're just bouncing around a non-existent gate. Where'd it go? But there's probably nothing quite as bad as this one here. There's something magical about the lightning striking when it appears. I don't know what just happened. Yeah, we all laughed when we saw that one. A big part of building the space subway system has been to do it in a way that services us in the future. And this actually goes all the way back to moon mining, when we found ourselves in need of a VFX sequencer. So a big part of building the space subway system has been to build what we call a multi-effect, which of course has a state controller. It can control the camera animation over here, and control another effect, or any number of effects over here. But the real magic of the system is that it can read and write to arbitrary objects defined as parameters in the multi-effect, which means we can influence the objects in the game by the data from the objects in the universe. So that becomes really, really great for making the VFX. And the programmers really have to watch out now before we start connecting everything to everything. All kidding aside, we're looking forward to getting this into you guys' hands and hearing what you think. We definitely have a lot of stuff to work out and polish before release, so when this comes on the test server, please go and have a look and give us feedback. Now to something completely different. So before we get into future stuff, let's put things into a little bit of context. At FanFest 2017, we showed you some of the prototypes we had made for things that might eventually make it into the game, and other things we wanted to address with our visuals. We had the idea to add auroras to planets, update our turret firing effects, making them more performant and lining up your hulls, updating our smart bombs to be volumetric, fixing the insane brightness on warp disruption bubbles, improving our jump gate effects, adding more explosion variety. Well, we delivered the auroras, we updated the turret firing effects, we improved the bubbles, we updated the jump gates. We didn't get around to these two. There's still something we want to do, we just don't know when we will get to them. It's just priority and what makes sense at the time. So 4 out of 6 of these happened, and this is of course alongside all of the feature work we do with all the other teams. Of course, I'm forgetting a bunch of other stuff we did, but so we're always working hard on keeping EVE Online beautiful, and we've delivered a lot of updates. It's like the visual damage system. You think back just a couple years, we didn't have that. The new explosions, the stars, actual lighting, and many, many updates to our post-processing. And here's actually a slide from 2016 Vegas, where we're describing, we have a problem, all of our post-processing is hard-coded. We solved those problems, which enabled us to do a lot of the cool stuff in the Abyss expansion. And now we're working towards updating it again, bringing it from Python into C++, and making the templates be volumes that you can travel from one to the other. So there's lots of good stuff happening for EVE over time. Then I'm also forgetting about many small updates we have done in the last couple of years, like the asteroid dissolve. That was last year, which, although not being the full-on amazing mining experience we want to create someday, it is a nice stepping stone on the way to, there. It's certainly better than the asteroids just popping out. And the thing we were working on earlier this year, which was creating way more dynamic and reactive PvE object effects. As we went over earlier at FanFest 2017, we showed you some prototypes and things we had in the pipes. These came with a disclaimer: prototypes may never end up in the game, they haven't been validated for priority or value, and they may also have a lot of tech missing to do them properly on TQ. Now, I've got 2 things to show you that we're very excited about for the future, or maybe more accurately, hashtag far future stuff, no promises, okay? The first one is dynamic particle boosters, trademark. It looks something like this. Now, I can tell you, when we were prototyping this thing, we just could not stop flying around these asteroid belts just for fun, because it feels good. Having boosters that feel powerful and have stuff coming out of them just feels amazingly good. And here's a contrast against where we are at the moment. Here we have the same ship using the same speed boosting module. And yeah, you can feel there's something we need to improve here. And that is something we hope to do very much. And you look at this, and you can see also how much our current trails are off from where they should be. But maybe we shouldn't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Maybe those old trails will just become low shader quality trails. So what do we need to do to make this happen? We need to implement a generic effect propagation system, so we're not losing performance on every single booster and throwing each one individually. We need to, we already have a system like this in the explosion system, so we just need to make that usable for other things. Then we need to investigate, can we get this to scale up performantly for fleet fights? And do we then look at this being the new default look based on what we figure out for boosters in the game, or do we do this specifically just for boosting modules? So yeah, very exciting stuff. Lots of work required to make it happen, but it could happen within the next year or two.
But I think while we talk on the booster stuff, there is something not so far future stuff, no promises, okay, things in the pipes that our amazing audio department is working on. So maybe have a listen to that. So us at full speed. Let's take it down to 50% in a minute. And let's check out how it sounds warping to the next asteroid belt.
Yeah, it's almost like engine sounds and boosters could work together to make something really cool. Who would have thought? The second prototype I want to show you today is Smoke and Fire TM. Let's see. The idea with this one being that if your ship is on low hull strength or maybe even in low armor, then fires will pop up across your ship. We've also had some great suggestions from game design about also visualizing damage control modules. So maybe you'll see force fields created to contain and mitigate fires. But fires like this are not easy to implement at the moment. We need to do a lot of work to make this happen for real. We need to remove DX9. And after that, we will need to update our GPU particle system so that we can render more complex shaders on them. At the moment, we basically have two particle systems, one of which is our GPU particles, which can only handle a simple shader with a set of atlas textures, but we can have hundreds of thousands of these particles. The other is our regular particle system, which you definitely would not want hundreds of thousands of, but handles complex shaders nicely. Our GPU particles also respond well to the motion of their parent object in relation to the world, but our regular particles do not. Here's a very good visualization of this difference. Yeah. So we need to move Eve's rendering tech a bit into the future, get rid of DX9, which will take time. So I would not expect, Smoke and Fire up until at least a year or two or more from now. Then there is DX12. Early work on DX12 has already gotten us 20% more rendering performance just from improvements to DX11, which means we will have more and more space to work with to make things look greater and greater. These things will take time to happen, as all good things do. And when we get there, we'll also be making them specifically from scratch, so they might end up looking, slightly different. But of course, we want to make it look as amazing as possible. We're also hoping to unshackle ourselves from DX9 sometime in the next year. We'll get there. We'll get there in the end. We always do. Yeah. So once again, it's a pleasure for us all to get to make this stuff for you guys, and to come to see you here at Vegas and all these events around the world. If you have any questions, come have a chat with us after we get off stage. thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you for coming. And also before you leave, I think we're almost breaking last year's collection for the raffles. So if you haven't gotten your raffles yet, just get out there and let's beat that record from last year. Thank you very much.
Welcome back to the studio. I'm honored to have CCP Burger with me. Would you please tell the people at home what is your official title at CCP?
So I'm CCP Burger. I'm the creative director of EVE Online.
Very fitting. You are a very creative person. Been seeing you here all weekend. Just yesterday at Omnia on the stage, like yelling and like grabbing people, dancing. It was awesome.
Yeah, I mean it's so fun to be here. It's like my favorite thing ever.
Going to events.
Yeah, I mean
around.
it's like it's so great to kind of come out and meet all you guys and like just talk EVE, talk spaceships, whole weekend, and yeah.
It's great, man. We're gonna be going to the tournament in a little bit, but before we do that, huge shout out to the art guys. They went through what, 180, 90 slides?
198 slides in 60 minutes.
And the art that they're working on is amazing.
Amazing.
Like, this
A lot
tech
of-
as well, especially like the face recognition, not face recognition, the layover onto characters.
yeah.
That is some cool tech, man.
Yeah, I mean it's going to help so much with the immersion of the, of the first few minutes and just of EVE in general.
It needs to be done straight just from video instead of having to have like the the point on your head everywhere like they had for the for the cameras for other movies. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm looking so forward to like actually getting this in game and starting to
Seeing
get
it on
more,
actual characters there.
Yeah, and like voiceovers, just they help a lot. That's kind of
Are we gonna see this as a angry conquered guy kind of thing for you? Because I mean, I remember you from last year on stage, angry conquered guy yelling at people on there. It was awesome, man. It's a cool character.
Yeah, I mean I don't know who you're talking about. Like I've heard about this guy,
of course.
I've never met him. He's a strange beast. This guy, like super, like legend.
Yes, yes, he is. Yes, we do have a giveaway.
We have a giveaway.
It's, something we would like you to tweet about. You could win here a Radeon 5700 XT. If you tweet what is something that your corporate kindness, it's something that your corporation has done for someone line member or something. If you tweet about that, you could win a really cool graphics card. So make sure you don't forget about that. We have a tournament coming up here, and we've got streamers on both sides.
Yeah.
And I gotta be honest, I'm gonna support Baleful and her team. I've been watching her run around like a kid in a candy shop all day. She is so excited about this tournament. I'm gonna really hope she kicks ass there.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pick sides.
I've already picked a side. It's just because of how enthusiastic she's been, like running in circle after circle. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean in my eyes, we're all winners here.
Yeah? You're one of those? Nah.
No.
So what stands out from the weekend for you?
I mean, I love meeting the fans.
Yep. Just the interaction itself.
The interaction itself.
Any conversation you can like vividly remember that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always surprised when I meet like brand new players.
Okay.
This
First
year,
timers to events and stuff.
Yeah, like this time around, I think the youngest kind of EVE player I met, he's been playing the game for a month.
Okay.
He already has like a shirt with his Alliance logo out and his own name, like.
He's all in.
Yeah, he's like all in, like 1 month in. That was, it's pretty.
Yeah, and at an event as well.
Yeah.
You know, I gotta confess something. I did not go to a single event being in Iceland for many years.
Honestly?
Honestly. Until until after I started streaming. And then I was like, wait, maybe I should go to one of these.
Wait, you live like around the corner from Harpa.
Yeah. I just kind of had to confess this right here. But honestly,
you're
the
like
last
the
2
laziest
years.
guy I know.
I know.
Not anymore. I mean.
No, really, I would be watching it online. Be like, no, I don't need to go to the Harpa. And then
Yeah.
after I've been to an event, I've been going to event after event. These are super fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's also like, it's so great for the devs as well to come here because oftentimes we are so kind of focused on the problem right now or kind of a big feature that we're working on.
Yes.
that it's like it's difficult to kind of see the game as a whole. So when you come to these events, you really get to kind of, see the thing that you've created, and you kind of
and get a feel
experience
from
it.
the really passionate players, which are the ones that come to these events. They're extremely passionate about this, and they're not shy about telling you how they feel.
Oh, no.
No.
I've had a lot of very constructive conversations. Let's
Word
call
it that way.
Though
Yes.
I have a good rule, like for the party last night.
Yeah.
If you want to talk to me during the party, you have to dance.
Yeah.
Because I danced the whole party.
Yes, you did.
And there's actually a lot of space bros that come up to me and just
Dance
love
their way
to
into
talk-
a conversation.
Yeah, I love to talk about spaceships and Eve stuffs,
Yeah.
and we do it dancing. It is
Okay.
great. Yeah, ship balance while dancing, fantastic.
That's interesting. Had the space boat just walk past us. We can
Yeah,
see
photo
people,
bombers.
People slowly getting out of here. I think the players are getting themselves ready for the tournament.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the teams were both called. I think we have the commentators coming here any second. I think that CCP Antiquarian is going to be
Antiquarian,
helping
yeah,
them with
yeah,
them
yeah.
as well. I have not been able to take part in any of these competitions when I'm helping you guys here.
So, how hard would you win this tournament?
I mean, I'm doing them a favor just sitting here.
Yeah. Is it like total annihilation?
No, honestly,
or?
these guys are really good at what they do. I've actually had a lot of people come up to me over the weekend and say, blah, 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 you're so good at this and that. And from what I've seen, I have such a ways to go to better myself and become better at the game.
Yeah.
That's something that I'm going to be impressed with how they play.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm actually I've actually been watching a lot of stream for the last 2 years.
Yep.
Because kind of having my accent,
Yep.
it's really hard for me to be on comms because people are like, wait, are you from Iceland? No. Are you CCP Burger? No.
No, of course not.
Of course not.
Angry Hunger guy.
Yeah. So I've actually been it's so great kind of following the game on Twitch, and it's awesome to see there's such fantastic content being generated on Twitch, and the standard has gone up so much over the last years.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and a lot of crazy good stuff. So huge shout out to you
When we're
guys.
talking about competent streamers, I have to give just a personal shout out to one of my favorites, Lusty Lou, iWorst player.
Yeah.
The Russian streamer. He is just phenomenal at what he does.
Yeah.
The way he just manages his modules and everything. He's incredibly competent at this.
Yeah.
I've often said that if he was speaking English, I'd be out of a job.
Yeah, I sometimes I try to not I don't engage in the conversation on Twitch that much, but every now and then I hot drop someone, just throw in something, especially if they're if they're talking about me or something. Throw in something hey guys, shh, go back
They
to
love
work.
it. I love it when CCPers come on, and the people in chat love it as well. So it's definitely something you could and should do a little bit more.
Yeah.
So it's awesome. Supporting everyone as well.
Yeah, definitely. Doing it
So
together.
what's your plan for tonight? The whole weekend's kind of coming to an end soon.
I always lie to myself that I'm gonna go early to bed.
Oh, yeah.
And sleep
Obviously.
and rest. That never happens.
No.
One thing that's every Vegas and every single Vegas, I always have the same thing happen to me. I fall asleep in my clothes, on top of my bed every night. I sit down, I should go brush my teeth. I'm just gonna sit here for one. It's super awesome.
You could see it this morning. There were some that weren't as awake as others, if we could put it that way.
Yeah. I'm very happy that I missed the after
party.
After party.
Yeah. Now the actual party itself at Omnia it was crazy. That club was really cool.
Yeah.
And what's even crazier is when I left there at some point in the night, it was a queue with 800 people trying to get in. I was like,
insane.
this was really
I
really sought
actually
after.
didn't know that there were more rooms than just the room that we were in until everything was
Okay.
over. And someone was like, hey, we're gonna go to the main room. I was like, wait, this wasn't the main room?
Yeah, the one that you were in most of the time.
Yeah, and Permaband